My dear students, greetings of the day and welcome you all in our engineering chemistry session. In our today's session, we are going to start our unit number 6, that is lubricants. All of us are using lubricants in our day-to-day life as well as for various industrial applications. So in this unit, we are going to discuss about the various points such as the definition of lubricants, types of lubricants, mechanism of this lubrication, then various lubricating oils and the determination of properties of the lubricating oils. So let us start with this module. So at the end of this module, you will be able to discuss about the types of lubricants and the mechanism of lubrication. So let me explain you what is the meaning of lubricant. So it is actually well known to all, as at our home also we are using the oil. Okay, so for many applications oil is used, but if we consider suppose the example of lock and key. Okay, so if we think it doesn't work properly, that key and lock is not working properly, then what we did, we have to put some drops of oil in that. Okay, so that it will get smooth and that will be the smooth application of this lock and key model. So what it indicate, in that previous means without application of that oil droplets, there is somewhat friction. Okay, somewhat resistance, that lock is not working properly. Okay, but when we put some drops of oil, then there will be the smooth movement of that shaft of the lock. So this lubricant is a substance, usually organic, introduced to reduce the friction between the surfaces in mutual contact. So the two surfaces which are in mutual contact, that in between them there is some friction. Friction means what? It is a resistance towards the movement. Okay, and to avoid that or to reduce that, we need to apply the organic substance, and that substance is known as lubricant. Okay, so the property of reducing friction is known as lubricity, and it is present in that lubricant. So lubricants are generally composed of base oil plus a variety of additives to impart the desirable characteristics. So these lubricants generally perform various functions, such as it will keep moving the parts apart, then it reduces friction, also transfer heat, then carry away contaminants and debris and transmit power. So all these are the functions of these lubricants. So lubricants are used to reduce the friction. Okay, it is the most important function of lubricant. So let me explain you what is meaning of friction, or which are the types of friction. So in all the types of machines, moving, sliding or rolling surfaces that rub against each other. Okay, so due to the mutual rubbing of one part against another part, a resistance is offered to their movement, and this resistance is known as friction. Okay, simply the resistance towards the movement is known as the friction. So this friction is of two types. Which are the two types? First one is known as sliding friction. Okay, and another is known as rolling friction. So sliding and rolling, what is the difference? In sliding friction, two materials of different hardness that slide over one another. Okay, two materials with the different hardness that will slide over one another, and the peaks of the softer material will get broken more easily than the peaks of harder material. That is known as sliding friction. So this sliding friction may cause some effects, such as cutting out the softer materials by the asperities of the harder material, and another one, that is the interlocking of the surface irregularities. So these are the effects of this sliding friction, and to avoid this we need to use the lubricants. Then second type of friction is rolling friction. So rolling friction means what? In this rolling friction, a loaded sphere or cylinder that rolls over a flat surface. That's why it is considered as a rolling friction. Okay. So loaded sphere or cylinder rolls over a flat surface of the other body, and that is considered as rolling friction. Means whenever we are going to roll that loaded sphere on the flat surface, some resistance will occur, and this resistance is known as rolling friction. Okay. So generally the coefficient of rolling friction is very low as compared to the sliding friction. So to avoid this friction or to reduce this friction, we actually need to use the lubricants, and along with that various functions of the lubricant. So let me explain the functions of lubricant. So first one, that is to reduce wear and tear of moving or sliding surfaces. As we consider in the friction, what happens when the two surfaces that slide over one another, at that time the softer material will get broken by the harder material. Okay. So there is a wear and tear of these moving or sliding surfaces, and to reduce this we can use this lubricant. Then second, to reduce the wastage of energy so that the efficiency of machine is enhanced. Okay. So because of friction we need excess energy, and if we use the lubricant, then ultimately it reduces the wastage of energy and efficiency will get increased. The next one, that it acts as a coolant. So how it will act as a coolant? This lubricant that is having the ability to absorb that heat. Okay. And during the working, that two surfaces will get slide over one another, and sometimes there is generation of frictional heat. This frictional heat will get transferred to that metal surface. Okay. So if we are using the lubricant, then that will get transferred to the lubricant, and that lubricant will act as a coolant. Then next is to reduce expansion of metal by local frictional heat. As already in this previous point I explained, during this working, what happened? There may be the generation of frictional heat, and this frictional heat may lead to the expansion of metal. But if lubricant is there, then it will help to reduce the expansion of metal. Then next is to reduce maintenance and running cost of machine. So if there will not be any problem in the working, ultimately it will reduce the maintenance and running cost of the machine. And last one is it will act as seal in an internal combustion engine. So all these are the functions of lubricant. Now lubrication. So lubricant, I hope you all understand its function also. So next is lubrication. So what is the phenomenon of lubrication? So it is the process or technique which is employed to reduce wear on surfaces in the close proximity and moving relative to each other. So to avoid the wear and tear of that surfaces, we need to apply lubricants, and that process is known as lubrication. Okay. So this lubrication is of three types, or there are three mechanisms of lubrication. So first one is known as hydrodynamic, which is also known as fluid film or thick film lubrication. Second one is boundary lubrication, or which is also known as thin film lubrication. And third one is extreme pressure lubrication. So let me start the first type of lubrication mechanism, that is hydrodynamic or thick film lubrication. Okay. Now this hydrodynamic lubrication exists when the moving surfaces are separated by the pressure of continuous unbroken film or a layer of lubrication. And in this type of lubrication, the load is taken completely by the oil film. So when to apply this hydrodynamic lubrication? If the moving surfaces are separated by the pressure of continuous unbroken film or layer of lubrication. Okay, and the load is taken completely by the oil film. That's why we need to apply that lubricant oil as a thick film. Then this hydrodynamic lubrication depends on the relative speed between the surfaces, oil viscosity, load and clearance between the moving or sliding surfaces. Okay. Then applications of this hydrodynamic lubrication. The well-known application that all of you know, the clocks. Okay. Our watches. So we are using the watches, wristwatch or clocks. In that there is use of this hydrodynamic or thick film lubrication. So actually it is used to take the load. Okay. So this oil is applied between two surfaces just only to take the load. That load should not be on the surfaces. Okay. Then it also used in the delicate instruments, then scientific instrument. So how this mechanism occurs? So in such a type of lubrication, one of the rubbing surface is slightly displaced in relation to other and a wedge-shaped film of the lubricant is formed between the two surfaces rubbing against each other. So here two metal surfaces. Okay. This one is metal surface, this another metal surface, and the load is applied from both the side. Okay. So in between these two surfaces, we have to apply this thick layer of lubricant that is known as hydrodynamic or thick film, or which is fluid film lubrication. In this, the lubricant film covers or fills the irregularities of the sliding or moving surfaces. Means what? You can see here these two surfaces, this surface A and this one is surface B. So it is not uniform. So these are the irregularities. So all these irregularities are filled with this oil. Okay. So this lubricating oil is filled in between these two. So all the irregularities in between the moving surfaces are filled with the lubricating oil, or that is lubricant, so that the friction between two lubricated surfaces depends upon the dimensions of the film and viscosity of the lubricant. So in these two fluid film lubrication, the lubricant must have minimum viscosity and it should remain in place and separate the two surfaces. So what is the most important function here? So it should fill the irregularities, and the second thing that it should keep the two surfaces separate, and the coefficient of friction in such case is extremely low, that is in the order 0.001 to 0.03. Okay, so this is all about this first type of lubrication mechanism, that is hydrodynamic or thick film, or which is fluid film lubrication. Now the second type of lubrication mechanism is boundary or thin film lubrication. So we will continue this in our next module. Bye for now. Thank you.